In October of 1987, a section of Merrow Road in northern Pennsylvania was permanently closed after a series of unexplained disappearances. State police reports exist. Newspaper clippings exist. Even now, locals avoid the area after sunset. Most people in the town of Belchester will tell you the same thing. If your car dies near the old water tower, do not leave the vehicle. I didn't believe that story until my older brother Daniel vanished there. This happened 11 years ago. Daniel was 26, stubborn, sarcastic, and impossible to scare. He worked as a freelance photographer and spent most weekends driving through abandoned towns, mills, and forgotten highways looking for strange places to photograph. On November 14, 2015, he called me around 9:40 p.m. "Hey," he said, "you ever hear of Merrow Road?" I was in my apartment in Pittsburgh, studying for a nursing exam. "No, it's creepy as hell out here." I laughed. "That's usually why you go places." "No, seriously." The line crackled. "I found this abandoned neighborhood near Belchester. Half the houses are boarded up. There's an old water tower in the woods, and there's nobody here. So, come home." But something's weird. That was the first time I heard fear in his voice. Then he said something I still think about. "There are lights moving between the trees." "What kind of lights?" "I don't know. White lights, like flashlights." "Hunters? Maybe." Another burst of static interrupted him. Then, I heard a distant sound. Metal scraping against metal. Slow, deliberate. Daniel stopped talking. "Dan," he whispered, "there's someone outside my truck." I sat upright. "What?" "I can't really see them." The signal cut for a second. When it came back, he was breathing hard. "There's more than one." "Call the police." "No signal except when I'm talking to you. Start the truck and leave." Silence. Then, "It won't start." The scraping sound returned. Closer this time, like iron dragging across pavement. "Dan?" I heard a loud bang hit the side of his truck. Daniel yelled. Then, a voice. Not Daniel's. A woman's voice. Soft. Almost calm. "You shouldn't be here." The call disconnected. I tried calling back immediately. No answer. Again, nothing. By midnight, I called state police. At first, they treated it like a routine missing person case. Adults disappear all the time. They assumed he'd gone drinking or lost his phone. But the next morning, they found his truck, parked beside the woods near the old Merrow water tower. Driver's side door open. Keys still in the ignition. Camera equipment untouched. Daniel was gone. The strangest part wasn't the truck. It was what surrounded it. According to the police report, there were muddy footprints circling the vehicle. Dozens of them, barefoot. Every print pointed toward the truck. None pointed away. I drove to Belchester the next day. It was the kind of town that looked permanently stuck in winter, even before snow arrived. Empty storefronts, rusted signs, old men sitting outside diners, watching strangers pass, like they were measuring them. When I asked about Merrow Road, people stopped talking. At a gas station, an elderly cashier stared at me for several seconds before speaking. "You family of the missing photographer?" I nodded. Her expression changed instantly. "You need to leave town." "What happened to my brother?" She leaned closer. "That road ain't empty." Before I could ask another question, she walked into the back room and never returned. I checked into a motel just outside Belchester. That night, around 1:13 a.m., someone knocked on my door. 3 slow knocks. I looked through the peephole. Nobody. Then another knock, this time from the window. The curtains were closed. I froze. Another knock. Soft. Patient. I forced myself to pull the curtain aside. Nothing was there. But written across the fogged glass were 4 words. I stumbled backward. By the time I looked again, the writing was gone. The next morning I visited the Belchester Public Library. A librarian named Martha helped me search local newspaper archives. That's when things became truly horrifying. Merrow Road had a history. In 1987, 5 residents vanished during a power outage. No bodies found. A month later, 2 volunteer searchers disappeared. Then, a deputy sheriff. The road was eventually shut down after residents claimed they were hearing voices outside their homes at night. Voices asking to be let in. Sometimes the voices sounded like family members. Sometimes children. One article included a quote from a surviving resident. "They stand near the trees and watch the houses. You never see their faces clearly, but if one of them speaks your name, you have to ignore it." Martha quietly closed the archive folder. "You should stop looking into this," she said. "You know something." She hesitated. "My father worked maintenance out there before the road closed." "What did he see?" "He said the people in the woods weren't right." "What people?" He never explained. I spent the rest of the afternoon talking to retired officers and locals. Most refused to speak. One man agreed after several beers. He claimed there had once been a religious settlement hidden in the forest near Merrow Road during the 1930s. Not an official church, a secretive group. They believed certain places in the woods were thin, meaning something could cross over. One winter, nearly every member vanished. The few survivors refused to explain what happened. Then the disappearances started decades later. That night I made the worst decision of my life. I drove to Merrow Road. The police barriers were still there, rusted and bent. I parked anyway and walked beyond them with a flashlight. The woods were silent. No insects. No wind. Nothing. After 10 minutes, I saw the water tower rising above the trees. It looked enormous in the moonlight. That's when my flashlight flickered, then died. At the exact same moment, I heard footsteps behind me. Bare feet, slowly stepping through wet leaves. I turned around. No one there. Then another sound came from deeper in the woods. A woman humming. The same calm voice from Daniel's phone call. I should have run. Instead, I called out, "Daniel?" The humming stopped instantly. A voice answered from somewhere ahead. "Evan." It was my brother's voice. Exactly his voice. My blood turned cold. "Dan? Help me." The voice sounded distant, weak. I moved toward it. Then I saw figures between the trees. Tall, motionless, at least 6 of them. I couldn't see faces, only pale outlines. My brother's voice came again. "Please." Something felt wrong. Daniel would never beg like that. Then every figure stepped forward at the same time. I ran. Behind me I heard dozens of footsteps racing through the forest. The humming returned, louder now, mixed with whispers. Some sounded like children, others sounded elderly, all repeating the same sentence, "Stay with us." I reached the road and nearly slipped on wet gravel. My car keys fell from my hand. The footsteps stopped. Complete silence. Then from directly behind me, a woman whispered, "You came back for him." I turned. A figure stood less than 10 feet away, tall and thin, wearing what looked like an old gray dress, but her face, I still can't describe it correctly. It looked blurry, like my eyes couldn't focus on it. Then she smiled. Not normally. Too wide. Far too wide. And beside her, shapes began emerging from the trees. More figures. Barefoot. Silent. Watching me. I grabbed my keys and jumped into the car. The engine failed twice before finally starting. As I sped away, I looked in the rearview mirror. The figures remained standing near the road. None of them moved, except one. One figure slowly raised its arm and waved. Years passed before I returned to Belchester. I tried to move on. The police officially declared Daniel dead in 2021. No body was ever found. But 3 months ago, something happened. I received a padded envelope with no return address. Inside was a photograph, black and white, damaged by moisture. The image showed the old water tower, and standing beneath it was Daniel, older, thinner, staring directly at the camera. Behind him stood several blurred figures. On the back of the photograph were 6 handwritten words: "You shouldn't have come back alone." I went to the police. They assumed it was a cruel prank. Maybe it was. But that same night, my phone rang at exactly 1:13 a.m. Unknown number. I answered. At first there was only static. Then breathing. Then Daniel's voice. Quiet. Almost breaking. "Evan," he whispered, "I found the way out." The line crackled violently. Then another voice interrupted him. The woman. Calm as ever. "He still belongs to us." The call ended. Police traced the signal to an inactive cell tower near Merrow Road, the same tower that stopped working. In 1987. I haven't gone back. But sometimes around 1:13 in the morning, my phone lights up with missed calls from unknown numbers. No voicemail, no traceable location, just silence. Last week though, one voicemail finally came through. It lasted 7 seconds. I listened to it over 50 times. At first, it sounds like wind, then footsteps, bare feet moving across leaves, and finally, Daniel's voice, right before the recording cuts off. "Don't let them see you." In the fall of 2003, a family disappeared from a farmhouse outside of Millfield, Kentucky. No bodies were ever found. No signs of forced entry, no blood, no evidence anyone had even struggled. The only thing police discovered was the family's dinner table still set with warm food, as if everyone had stood up and walked away at the exact same moment. For years, locals avoided Cold Creek Road after dark. Not because of ghosts, because people claimed they still saw lights moving inside the empty house. And sometimes, very late at night, they heard a phone ringing from somewhere deep inside it. I didn't believe any of those stories until I spent a night there myself. My name is Nathan Holloway, and this happened to me in October of 2022. At the time, I worked for a company that inspected abandoned properties before demolition. Most jobs were simple: take photographs, check for structural damage, file paperwork. Cold Creek Farm was supposed to be another routine assignment. The county planned to tear the house down after years of vandalism complaints. My supervisor handed me the file that morning. "You'll want to finish before sunset," he said. I laughed. "Haunted house." He didn't smile. "Locals don't go near that place after dark. Because of the missing family? You know about them? Everybody online knows about them. The Holloways. Father, mother, 2 daughters. Gone overnight in 2003. My supervisor leaned closer. "Just do the inspection and leave." I should have listened. Cold Creek Road sat nearly 15 miles outside town, surrounded by dead cornfields and thick woods. The farmhouse appeared suddenly through the trees. 2 stories, white paint peeling away, front porch sagging toward the ground, every window dark. Even in daylight, the place felt wrong. Silent. No birds, no insects, nothing. I parked beside the rusted gate and grabbed my camera equipment. The front door was already open. That should have been my first warning. Inside, the air smelled rotten. Not like decay. Like wet earth. The house looked frozen in time. Dust covered everything. But furniture remained exactly where it had been left. Children's toys sat scattered across the floor. Family photographs still hung on the walls. In one picture, the Holloway family smiled in front of the house. The father looked exhausted. The mother looked nervous, and both daughters stared directly at the camera without smiling. Something about their expressions bothered me immediately. I started taking photos room by room. Kitchen, living room, dining room, everything normal, until I reached the upstairs hallway. That's where I noticed the scratching, thin marks covering the wallpaper, thousands of them, like someone had dragged their fingernails across the walls over and over again. The deeper I went upstairs, the worse the scratching became. Then I heard the sound, a telephone ringing, somewhere downstairs. I froze. The house had no electricity. The ringing stopped after 5 seconds. Then silence returned. I slowly went back downstairs. The sound had come from the kitchen. An old rotary phone sat mounted on the wall. Dust covered it completely. There was no way it should have worked. As I stared at it, the phone rang again, loud enough to make me jump. I should have left. Instead, I picked it up. For several seconds, all I heard was static, then breathing, slow, uneven. "Nathan," a woman whispered. I nearly dropped the phone. "How do you know my name?" No answer. Then the woman spoke again. "You need to leave before dark." The line went dead. I stood there shaking. At first I convinced myself somebody was pranking me. Maybe local kids. Maybe another inspector. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I decided to finish quickly and leave. That decision probably saved my life. 5:20 p.m. While photographing the basement stairs, I found the journal. It belonged to Margaret Holloway, the missing mother. Most pages described ordinary things: bills, school problems, church events. But the final entries became disturbing. October 11th, 2003. Something is walking around the house every night. October 14th. The girls hear voices outside their windows. October 16th. Thomas says it's animals, but animals don't knock on doors. The last entry was dated October 18th. Only one sentence: "Whatever is in the fields wants to come inside." A loud bang echoed upstairs. I jumped so hard, I nearly dropped the journal. Another bang followed. Heavy footsteps moved across the second floor. Slow, deliberate. I grabbed my flashlight and backed toward the front door. The footsteps stopped. Then came the sound of children laughing upstairs. Not normal laughter. Low, almost mechanical. I ran outside. The sun was setting behind the trees. My truck sat 50 yards away, near the gate. I started toward it, then stopped. Someone stood at the second floor window. A little girl, pale face, dark hair, watching me. I thought it was one of the missing daughters. Then I remembered something horrifying. Both girls vanished 19 years earlier. The girl at the window slowly raised one hand and tapped the glass 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. Every light inside the farmhouse suddenly turned on. I stumbled backward in shock. Yellow light flooded every room. But the property had no electrical service. The girl disappeared from the window. Then every light went out at once. Complete darkness swallowed the house. And from inside came screaming. An entire family screaming together. I ran for my truck. Halfway there, the screaming stopped instantly. Silence covered the fields again. I reached the truck, climbed inside, and turned the key. Nothing happened. The engine was dead. My headlights flickered weakly, then shut off. Outside, I heard movement in the cornfield beside the road. Something large moving through dry stalks, circling the truck. The sound grew closer. Crunch, crunch, crunch. I locked the doors. The movement stopped beside my driver's side window. At first I saw nothing. Then a face slowly appeared from the darkness. Not human. Its skin looked gray and stretched tight across its bones. Its eyes were completely black, and its mouth was smiling far too wide. The thing tilted its head unnaturally, then spoke in a child's voice. "Can we come inside now?" I slammed the key again. The engine roared to life instantly. The creature vanished into the darkness. I drove away so fast. I nearly flipped the truck turning onto the highway. I didn't stop until I reached Millfield. The sheriff listened to my story without interrupting. When I finished, he looked exhausted instead of surprised. Then he opened a drawer and showed me a photograph. It was taken in 2004 during the original investigation. The picture showed the farmhouse at night, and standing in every upstairs window were dark human shapes, watching the camera. "There were no people inside the house when we took this," the sheriff said quietly. I quit my inspection job the next week. I tried forgetting everything that happened on Cold Creek Road. For a while, I succeeded. Then the phone calls started. Every night at exactly 11:47 p.m., my house phone rang once. Only once. No caller ID, no voicemail. At first I ignored it, until one night I answered. Static filled the line. Then children laughing. The same low, unnatural laughter I heard inside the farmhouse. A little girl whispered, "You left us there." The calls still happen. Every single night. And last month, something even worse happened. I woke up around 2 a.m. because someone was knocking on my front door. 3 slow knocks. Tap, tap, tap. I looked through the peephole. Nobody was there. But across the street, standing under the flickering streetlight, were 4 figures. 2 adults, 2 children, motionless, watching my house. I couldn't see their faces clearly, but I knew exactly who they were. The Holloway family. The next morning, muddy footprints covered my front porch. Small footprints, children's footprints, and scratched into my door were 5 words I will never forget. "We finally found you again." In 1996, several drivers disappeared along a forgotten stretch of Route 66 outside Amarillo, Texas. Their vehicles were eventually found abandoned on the side of the highway. Engines still running, doors wide open, personal belongings untouched. But the drivers were never seen again. The strange part was what witnesses reported before each disappearance. A man standing beside the road late at night, tall, thin, wearing an old black suit, and smiling. Always smiling. State police blamed drugs, hitchhikers, and highway crime. Locals blamed something else. They called him the Smiling Man. I used to think those stories were fake, until I saw him myself. My name is Carter Hayes, and this happened in August of 2021. At the time, I worked as a long-haul truck driver, transporting refrigerated cargo across the Southwest. Most nights were boring. Empty highways, truck stop coffee, country radio fading in and out through desert static. I actually liked the isolation. That changed during a delivery run from Albuquerque to Oklahoma City. Around 1:40 a.m., I was driving through a deserted section of old Route 66 after taking a detour around highway construction. No other cars, no lights, nothing except desert stretching endlessly beneath the moonlight. Then I saw him. A man standing beside the road, perfectly still. He wore a black suit that looked decades old. His hands hung stiffly at his sides, and even from a distance, I could tell he was smiling. Not normal smiling. Too wide, far too wide. At first I assumed he needed help, maybe a stranded traveler. But as I drove closer, something felt wrong. He wasn't waving, wasn't moving, just standing there staring directly at my truck, smiling. Every instinct told me not to stop, so I kept driving. As my headlights passed over him, I finally saw his face clearly. His skin looked pale gray, his eyes were completely black, and his smile stretched almost to his ears. A cold shock hit my chest, so hard, I nearly swerved off the road. I looked in the rear-view mirror. The man was still standing there, watching the truck disappear into the darkness. I tried laughing it off. Probably makeup. Probably some drunk idiot trying to scare drivers. Then my CB radio crackled. Static burst through the speakers. Then a voice whispered, "You should have stopped." I grabbed the radio microphone. "Who is this?" I asked. No answer. Only breathing. Then the radio died completely. The next gas station sat nearly 30 miles away. I pulled in around 2:25 a.m. Only 2 other vehicles were parked there. An old pickup truck and a police cruiser. Inside, the cashier looked half asleep. The sheriff, sitting near the coffee machines, noticed how nervous I seemed. "You all right?" he asked. I hesitated, then told him about the man on the highway. The sheriff's expression changed immediately. "Black suit?" he asked quietly. "Yeah." "Big smile?" I nodded slowly. The sheriff stared down into his coffee for several seconds. Then he muttered, "Jesus Christ." The cashier overheard us and immediately walked to the front door to lock it. That should have terrified me more than it did. "What's going on?" I asked. The sheriff leaned closer. "How far back did you see him?" "Maybe 20 miles. Did he move?" "No." The sheriff stood up instantly. "You need to leave now." "What?" "Get back on the highway before 3 o'clock. "Why?" Neither man answered. The sheriff simply repeated himself, "Do not stop driving." I left the gas station feeling completely unsettled. The highway looked even darker now. Clouds had swallowed the moon. Lightning flashed far off in the desert. I kept checking my mirrors every few seconds. Nothing behind me. No headlights. No movement. Then, around 2:50 a.m., my truck engine suddenly shut off. Everything died. Headlights, dashboard, radio. I rolled to a stop in complete darkness. Panic hit instantly. I tried restarting the engine. Nothing. Then came the knocking. 3 slow taps against the passenger side door. Tap, tap, tap. I turned slowly toward the window. The smiling man stood inches from the glass, still grinning. Rainwater dripped from his suit. His black eyes reflected no light at all. I couldn't breathe. He lifted one hand slowly and pointed toward the passenger seat. At first, I saw nothing there. Then lightning flashed outside, and for one horrifying second, I saw another person sitting beside me. A woman, pale, motionless. I screamed and threw myself against the driver's side door. The truck radio exploded with static. Then dozens of voices began whispering at once. "Let us ride with you." The smiling man tapped the glass again. Harder this time. A crack spread across the passenger side window. Then another, and another. I jammed the ignition key repeatedly. Finally, the engine roared back to life. The headlights snapped on. Both figures vanished instantly. I slammed the truck into gear and sped down the highway. But something worse happened next. Every mile marker I passed showed the same number. Again and again. No matter how far I drove. Mile 66. Mile 66. Mile 66. It felt impossible. Like the highway itself had trapped me. Then I noticed headlights behind my truck. One vehicle, keeping perfect distance. I accelerated. So did it. I slowed down. It slowed too. Finally, I looked carefully in my mirror. An old black sedan followed directly behind me. Its headlights flickered weakly in the darkness, and through its windshield, I saw several faces staring forward, all smiling. My chest tightened so badly, I thought I might pass out. The sedan suddenly sped forward. Fast, far too fast. It pulled alongside my truck. Inside were at least 5 people. Men, women, children, all pale, all smiling unnaturally wide. And driving the car was the man in the black suit. He turned slowly toward me, then pointed ahead. I looked back at the road and nearly drove off a cliff. The highway ended without warning at a collapsed bridge. I slammed the brakes so hard the truck jackknifed sideways across the road. The black sedan disappeared instantly. Gone. No headlights. No tire sounds. Nothing. I sat shaking inside the truck for almost 10 minutes before another vehicle finally arrived. A state trooper. After hearing my story, the trooper became unusually quiet. Then he asked me something strange. Did they ask for a ride? I stared at him. How did you know that? The trooper didn't answer. Instead, he opened his trunk and handed me a faded newspaper clipping. The article was dated 1978. A family of 5 had driven off the exact same collapsed bridge after reporting a strange man on the highway. No survivors were found, but according to witnesses at a nearby diner, the father repeatedly claimed someone was trying to get into their car, someone smiling outside the windows. The family's vehicle was never recovered. Neither were the bodies. The trooper told me Route 66 had dozens of similar stories stretching back decades. Drivers seeing the same smiling man, the same black sedan, the same passengers. Most survived, some didn't. I never drove that route again. But sometimes, during long highway trips late at night, I notice a vehicle following me from far behind. Always at the same distance, always with dim headlights. And whenever I stop for gas after midnight, I occasionally see him standing somewhere nearby, at the edge of the parking lot, watching, smiling, waiting for someone to offer him a ride. Last month, another truck driver disappeared near Amarillo. His truck was found abandoned on Route 66, engine still running, driver's side door hanging open. Police found no sign of struggle, but according to the report leaked online, there was one detail investigators refused to explain publicly. Fingerprints covered the passenger side window from the outside. Dozens of them had been pressing against the glass at the same time.